You're listening to episode 153, a chat with an expert on virtual speech therapy. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Child Life on Call. This podcast is a safe place for parents to share their stories about what it's like to have a child that has a medical experience, diagnosis, disease, and or everything in between. We know there's power in sharing stories, and that power multiplies when you can listen to other parents who have walked a similar path to yours. Giving and getting advice is great, but hearing how another parent navigates the complexities and nuances of healthcare is even better. As a child life specialist, my role is to support, validate, and provide emotionally safe spaces for kids and their families, and I am so honored to be on this journey with you. In addition to parent stories, we sprinkle in some expert episodes every now and again that have content for both parents and professionals in the field of healthcare, all with the mission to empower parents to be confident advocates and partners with the care team during healthcare experiences. We're so glad you're here. Hello, my friends. I'm so happy that you're here today. I have the chance to talk with Lenora, and she is the Chief Knowledge Officer for betterspeech.com. And they have been doing virtual speech therapy for a long time. They have a whole list of speech language pathologists who are licensed in a lot of states. She's going to tell us all about it. But I really wanted to pick her brain on what virtual speech therapy is like for kids and families now that we have options beyond having to go in, or if you need something beyond school or whatever it may look like. So I got to pick her brain about what a session would look like, what some of their goals are, and what are some of the common things she hears from parents. So I hope you find this helpful, and I'm so glad that you're here. Please enjoy my conversation with Lenora. Before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you guys know that if you are a parent, a child life specialist, or professional working with children, you're going to want the hospital or physician's office or urgent care that you take your kids to have the Child Life On Call app. It is an evidence-based tool designed to empower children and families during medical experiences. And 100% of the child life specialists who have used this app believe that it can help with expanding child life's reach beyond the bedside. And 100% of child life specialists believe it helps parents feel more empowered in their child's care. Learn how to get the Child Life On Call app for your facility or doctor's office by going to childlifeoncall.com/partners.
Hi, my name is Lenora Edwards, and I am a speech language pathologist with Better Speech. We are an online speech therapy company that provides speech therapy services in all 50 states and internationally, and we are all board certified and licensed in the states that we provide service to.
I love that. I have seen this so much grow out of the pandemic, and maybe it was already there, but just really seeing this availability of therapy services virtual. And I know Child Life is getting into it. It's just making therapy so much more accessible. And so I'm so excited to have you on today, Lenora, just to hear a little bit about your story. And before we got started recording, we were talking a little bit about how some parents show up to therapy. And I kind of just want you to repeat what you said to me. I'm sorry to make you say it again, but I think it was just so thoughtful about kind of those first interactions with parents and some of the ways that you just want to reassure them.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me on your show. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I actually got into speech therapy early on. I started in nursing, and then I actually went over to speech language pathology, which was absolutely amazing because I am quite a chatterbox, as you'll come to learn quickly. And with Better Speech and our service that we provide at betterspeech.com, we've been available and online since long before the pandemic. So we're very, very comfortable with using our virtual platform where other people may have had to fumble a little bit. We are quite experienced. And what we love is we are able to be there with the family. And sometimes if you go to an outpatient clinic, you don't really have the ability to go into the therapy room, or if they're getting services in school, you might not have the ability to interact with the speech language pathologist. And when we're online, when we're having therapy, the parent gets to be there, the child is present, and everybody's on board at the same time. And we're all showing up for that little one to ensure that they have the therapy services they need, but also we're there to educate the parent. And I'm able to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, how they can help at home, what else they can do around the home to help build upon, whether it be their articulation skills or their language skills, but to help support that little one. And what I often find is parents will come to me more in a bit of a panic because they think that they did something wrong. So let's say your child isn't clearly producing their R sounds, or that they're not talking in sentences. The parent tends to be a bit more worried, like, okay, well, what do I need to do? And it's simply, they didn't do anything wrong. And that is the first thing that I tell all the parents. As a parent, you did nothing wrong. You are always doing the best that you can. This is simply where we are, and how can we move forward? And I love being able to provide parents and guardians with the tools that they need to move about their home. It's so much more functional where they're in their environment and they're able to show us what their environment looks like. And we're able to provide more education and more support of how they can build in these techniques in a very functional way, not in 3 weeks, today, starting today. And I think that's so important because if you do go to a clinic or if you do have speech therapy services in a school, that's great. But sometimes there's a really long wait list. And when little ones are growing, when you have your 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, that body and mind are going to continue to grow. And they're not going to wait 6 months to be on a evaluation list to eventually get services. So I absolutely love being able to be there the next day. So let's say you called up and said, my child isn't talking in sentences. I have a 3-year-old, all they say is the word blue. As a speech language pathologist, I'm able to be there the very next day. With betterspeech.com, we can look you up with a licensed therapist in your state, and we can start services immediately. And I think that is so absolutely incredible because as parents, we want solutions immediately, and we don't have the time or the luxury of time to wait 6 months. So we're able to be there for them, and that is what's most important. Then we can start immediately providing those services to that child and to that family, because that's why we're here. It's to be of service.
I love that. And, almost nothing happens automatically in healthcare. So when you hear that something happens next day, it's always exciting.
Very much so.
How do you make families feel comfortable kind of right off the bat meeting somebody virtually? So what could a parent expect right away?
A parent can expect right away the fact that we are there and we are listening, and they're able to share as much information with us as possible, because that's how we can all come together to help. To start our connection with the little one, we have games. So the amazing platform of Zoom that we use, which is absolutely phenomenal, we are able to quite literally pull up games, and we have a fantastic practice library on our website. We don't have to send you to any other website. We're able to provide games and built-in speech and language games on our platform, on betterspeech.com. So the fact that we can immediately engage them in games and work with them to get them to start talking, whether it may be on a language goal or on an articulation goal, we can engage them immediately. And that's what's most important, because it's when you have that really good rapport with a therapist and a child, when you have that really good connection and that balance, you're able to make so much more progress, and you're able to make progress much faster because there's an understanding. And with parents, when parents are there, as often as they are, parents have a lot of hats. Not only are they mom and dad or caregiver, they're also chef, they're also driver, they're also playmate. There's a lot going on. So to actually have them sit down and work on speech, the fact that we can provide that platform of, hey, this is now speech time, this is when we're going to practice, is really, really helpful, because the child will then understand, oh, I did this with my speech teacher or my speech coach. Oh, this is time for speech because I recognize this and I can work on this with mom and dad or caregiver, whatever the case may be. And that helps reinforce the positive feedback loop that we're working so hard to build all the time to help little ones communicate effectively.
I think that's great. And I heard you say two things, which we know works well with kids and adults, really, but that's games and goal setting. And when
Hmm.
you have that kind of collaboration with parents, like we know we want to get parents to their desired outcome, right? Which is to have their kids be confident, articulate speakers. And for kids, it's really like the goal is to have fun and to not dread wanting to go do this. And that's the best part about when we get to watch speech therapists or physical therapists, occupational therapists in the hospital. It's it's sometimes work, but a lot of times it's games and just fun, and you get to learn in that way.
Absolutely. I love that because when you're having fun, there's learning involved. And when you can make learning fun, you're just building on top of these positive experiences so that learning continues to be fun. And sometimes parents will say, well, how do I make it fun? And what we even have the ability to do is ask the child, what would you like to do? What would make this more fun? And when you ask the child what might make this more fun or what game do they want to do, they understand that they have power, they have choice, they can decide, and it's not me making the decision. They chose what to do. Now we're going to participate together. So it builds this beautiful back and forth where they understand they're not always being told, they're also being asked. They're being taken into consideration. What do they want? Because their decisions are made for them a lot of the time. So anytime we can allow them to have the opportunity to decide, the more fun we can offer them because we're offering them power, we're offering them control, and we're offering them the ability to decide. And in that, you shape more fun and you shape more learning, and it just compounds on itself.
I absolutely love that. I imagine that when you're chatting with kids and you hear a lot of funny things that they say, and I was just wondering if you could pull one of those experiences you had, which is probably the reason why you're working with kids, right? Like I can pull from a million different examples of when kids, ask me like, where do babies come from and how you handle that, or kids say the darndest things. Tell me a little, or maybe a short story about one of your experiences with the kiddos that just made you laugh.
I have so many great experiences. Even when I was younger, I would work as a babysitter, and I had so many great experiences with kids from that. And even one of them in particular, she had special needs, and when I would read with her, her face would just light up, and I would do all these voices with her, and that connection that I was able to build with her was incredibly impactful because she didn't have a lot of vocabulary, but when she saw me, she would light up because we'd had so much fun. So when we were reading a book about feet, I would make all these really high noises like pee and I would point to her feet and reinforce smelly feet, whatever it was. And then another one was fishy, and I would make this guppy sound for her, and she would mimic me, and we would have this incredible back and forth. And it was our connection and our bond. And even if she was in a tantrum and she was so upset, if I started to make noises, it instantly changed her. She was able to shift out of whatever was holding her down and move into a giggle and move into a better place. And I think that's so powerful to be able to help somebody who's not in a great space and help them move to a much better space simply by offering laughter and fun.
Oh, I love that. And I can assume probably at the beginning, it's always like kind of a slow to warm situation. Even when you're in person with
Mm-hmm.
somebody, it takes a little bit of time to warm up. But by the end of
Mm-hmm.
the intervention or the session or whatever it is, it's just you both leave feeling so much better, which is amazing.
Absolutely. Kids do say the darndest things.
They
I
really do.
actually was working, they do. I was asking one little boy that I was working with, and we were working on his S sound, and I was encouraging him. I'm like, where's your clean speech? Where's your sharp speech? Whatever phrase I was using with him. And he's like, some things you just don't know. And just like, it was so casual. Just, you just can't explain some things. And it was just hilarious. And it caught me completely off guard because it was not something that was normally in his vocabulary of humor that he would have said. So they just come out with the funniest things.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And as you're speaking, I'm just thinking about, we always want to reinforce these really trusted, passionate adults in our kids' lives. And when you have therapists that you trust and you can go to, they become a lifelong part of your story, right? And it sounds like the way that you interact with kids and families, you're just making such an impact with them. And whenever you can point to those like trusted adults that just really help a family feel comfortable, it just the impact is so long lasting.
It truly is. It's incredibly long lasting. My mother was a nurse in labor and delivery, and she would tell me, because people would come to her in very high situations of stress, and she would tell me, always explain everything that you're doing. Treat them like family. And that is the approach that I do my absolute best with all my clients and the people that I work with. Treat them like family. If your family member was in a situation, how would you want them to be spoken to? And I treat them like family because I love what I do, but also I want them to know that they're safe, that they can ask questions, that when they roll over at 2 a.m. in the morning with a question, they can send me an email. And it's completely understandable, and I completely expect for you to roll over at 2 a.m. in the morning with a question. I would want you to know that we are there. I might not answer at 2 a.m., but I will absolutely get back to you as soon as possible. But to know that you can ask questions and that parents aren't and guardians aren't expected to know every single solitary answer. It's not their area of expertise. If I had a client, one of the parents was a banker, I would expect their area of expertise to be in banking, not speech pathology. So when they say, this is a stupid question, I say, that's not true. You simply don't know what you don't know. It can't possibly be a stupid question. Because to me, why would you know?
Right.
And I really do my absolute best to offer as much education to people and explain things in ways that they understand, because it's really important. And then they walk away having a better understanding, being able to be more patient with themselves and with others around them. And that is just priceless, because it's so important to allow people the time they need to learn and to understand. And that is exactly why we're here offering the service that we are.
That's amazing. Well, can you tell our parents and professionals who are listening where they can find out more about what you guys are doing? I know you mentioned betterspeech.com, but are you on Instagram or anywhere else that they can follow along?
We are on Instagram, and we are on Facebook and on YouTube, and our website is betterspeech.com. Our goal is to provide the most affordable, effective, and convenient speech therapy services out there.
That's incredible. And I thank you so much for being here today and just being so passionate about what you do. You can really feel it through the podcast. So it's so nice to talk with you, and I'm so grateful for your time.
Thank you so much for having me here. I truly, truly appreciate it, Katie. It was absolutely amazing spending time with you.
Thank you for listening to the Child Life On Call podcast. I'm your host, Katie Taylor, and you can follow us at Child Life On Call on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please rate and review to make it easier for other families to find us. We have cute merch available at www.bonfire.com/store/childlifeoncall, and you can listen to more episodes and find resources at childlifepodcast.com.